Now, finding the new autophage settlements is a little bit different, but still fairly straightforward nonetheless. There are a couple of ways you can go about this as well. The first one is, assuming you're already the overseer of an existing settlement, is you'll likely get a mission from that pre-existing settlement stating that you've received a derelict signal, and it should then lead you to another system and then an autophage settlement. And the second method is by using an autophage settlement chart. Now, in order to get your hands on one of these, you need to go to an autophage camp and then go to its synthesis terminal. Right, so we may as well start with the basics, right? So, what are settlements and how can we find them? Well, settlements are one of a handful of on-planet points of interest in No Man's Sky, and you can find many of them on a wide variety of planets within the game. They were originally added as part of the Frontiers update, which came out a couple of years ago, but the most recent Beacon update added significantly more depth to them. So now you can become an overseer of up to 4 settlements, which is new from the Beacon update because previously you could only have 1 at a time. But on top of that, the Beacon update also added in a brand new and visually unique settlements with autophage settlements. But how do you go about finding settlements? Well, there are a number of ways you can do this, and the first one would be to go through the Settlers questline. Now, if you complete this, you'll end up with becoming the overseer of your very own settlement, though you tend not to have the choice of the planet this settlement is on, so you may end up with one on a planet that isn't great with storms and all sorts going on. However, the good news is there is a much easier way to find settlements on a more desirable planet if you say want one on a paradise planet, for example. And doing this is really simple. All you have to do is head up to a regular space station and purchase a handful of settlement charts from a cartographer, and then when you're on a planet you like the look of, plot a route to that settlement and you should be good to go. Right, let's move on and talk about actually becoming the overseer of a settlement or a number of settlements, because this is going to allow you to make choices at your settlements, including resource output, buildings to construct, resolving disputes between citizens, and also defending it from those pesky enemies. Now, finding the new autophage settlements is a little bit different, but still fairly straightforward nonetheless. There are a couple of ways you can go about this as well. The first one is, assuming you're already the overseer of an existing settlement, is you'll likely get a mission from that pre-existing settlement stating that you've received a derelict signal, and it should then lead you to another system and then an autophage settlement. And the second method is by using an autophage settlement chart. Now, in order to get your hands on one of these, you need to go to an autophage camp and then go to its synthesis terminal, and from there you can exchange void motes for an autophage settlement chart, and then it's pretty simple. Plot a route to that settlement and voila, you have located one of the brand spanking new autophage settlements. It's not exactly rocket science, is it, guys? Right, let's move on and talk about actually becoming the overseer of a settlement or a number of settlements, because this is going to allow you to make choices at your settlements, including resource output, buildings to construct, resolving disputes between citizens, and also defending it from those pesky enemies. Now, in order to actually become the overseer of a settlement, you will want to use the settlement hub interface, which should be located slap bang in the center of that settlement, and before you claim it, it can show you the current status of said settlement, so you can decide not to get it if you want. So it may show things like it has any debt, how many cities it has, etc, etc. You will also need to offer a certain amount of resources to claim said settlement, but once you've done exactly that, it should be yours, and then you can get to work. Right, so there are a couple of important settlement buildings worth noting in this video before I move on to the management of your settlements. The first one is probably the settlement hub interface, because this is where A, you can check the status of a settlement, and B, it's also where you can apply to become the overseer of said settlement, as you've just seen. And the second one that I need to mention is the overseer's office, which does need to be built before you can actually get stuck into other aspects of managing your settlement. Now, I've seen a few players saying there was a bug, right, people not being able to get the prompt to do this after the Beacon update, but after the latest patch, I was able to build a new overseer's office in my new autophage settlement, as you can see from this footage. And this footage is being recorded on June the 9th, just in case you're curious when this was. But to build this, it takes 3 stages. In the first stage, you need some silicate powder. Second stage, you need 5 metal platings. In the third stage, you need some microprocessors. But once that is complete, you get your overseas office, and then you can get properly stuck into the management of your settlement. Happy days. Right, so let's get stuck into the management side of things now. And first, I'm going to talk about your citizens because this has actually been updated recently with the beacon update as well. And first up, you're now actually able to gain further insight into your citizens. So every settler has a name like personality, profession, attribute ratings, and so on. Like some of these can be great at research, perhaps trading. Others can be just, well, a pain in the ass and problematic. It really does quite vary. You'll be able to resolve disputes between your citizens, and there has already been improved. Sorry, it has been improved recently as well. So the beacon update has removed ambiguity. So things like these scenarios are described better. They now present you with a wider pool of resolutions. Like you can choose them based on your own moral stance on said quarrel of your citizens, or if you feel like it, you can find them all if everyone's at fault or if just for bants. Totally up to you. Your settlement citizens are also able to propose laws so that they can initiate festivals. They may even challenge your leadership, who knows? But making the right decisions keeps happiness high and crime within your settlement low. And now, with having up to 4 settlements, you can juggle unique political ecosystems across the stars. So, in a way, it sort of turns this aspect of No Man's Sky into like a part space sim, if you want, like part colony manager, which is something like the depth that we needed added, in my opinion. So, I'm happy it's there because I basically completed settlements in the past and never looked at it again until the beacon update. So, I'm thankful for that. So let's move on to construction and expansion because alongside keeping your citizens happy, this is an essential aspect of all settlements in order to make them thrive. Now, the beacon update added yet more variety and depth to the construction within settlements, so instead of just approving generic housings or buildings, you can now get proposals from for specific facilities, so things like jukebox bars, trade depots, even fishing ponds. Fucking fishing, man. Now, your choices are more important than ever. Do you want to boost the economy or do you want to focus on citizen happiness? So, since the beacon update, every single building has its own calculated contribution to the happiness, the population, and the productivity of your settlements. So, make sure you choose carefully which buildings you want to upgrade and construct as you specialize your construction efforts to improve your citizens' lives or their revenues as a settlement whole. And of course, as you're expanding your settlement and increasing its population, you'll also need to make sure you do consider housing because, after all, your citizens need a place to live, right? So don't go building a whole host of manufacturing buildings and merchant stalls and God knows what else, whilst also ignoring housing, because that is just as essential to allow your settlement to thrive and keep the population happy. And once you've done all of that construction, over time, your settlements will generate income in the form of local products, trade goods, research points every few hours. So you're probably going to get progress reports showing your net income, your debt, if any, citizen happiness, and any pending decisions. Now, if you want to maximize your settlement's profits, personally, I would suggest you focus on building trade related structure. So, for example, the factory modules or the farming modules. You should also focus on increasing population and passing productivity boosting policies alongside that as well. But as I mentioned earlier, keep it in mind that a bigger population can mean more crime, more maintenance, and probably more complaints, because everyone in No Man's Sky loves to complain, right? Balance is everything, but on the profit side, you can reinvest all these profits into upgrades, infrastructure, or even just cosmetic improvements like statues, gardens, and monuments, making your settlement the place to be. Less fishing ponds, please. Anyway, after all, a flourishing settlement now benefits an entire solar system's economy. So that you could basically turn a really shit economy system into a pretty good one from your settlement's wealth. Again, something I really wanted to add into the game, so I'm happy it's here now. Now, if you do all that, you get everyone happy, you increase the productivity, you reduce your debt, you construct all sorts of wonderful buildings, make your settlement a proper flourishing settlement. This does, however, mean it can become a bigger target from external threats. So things like sentinels, the vile brood, and now even pirate raids, which all adds an entirely whole new layer of urgency because you're not just a mayor, you're also the commander-in-chief, and it is your job to defend your settlement should the need arise. The good news is, you can either come back yourself and destroy everything yourself, but you can also hire squadrons of pilots who act as your aerial defenders. These wingmen will deploy automatically during raids to defend the skies above your outposts. You can assign and train them, you can even equip them with specific ships and loadouts. However, if a raid succeeds, your structures will be damaged, citizens may be injured, and morale can tank. So having that strong squadron is key to long-term settlement stability, so don't skimp on it. Right, so let's talk about something that can often be overlooked, and that is your settlement status screen. Disclaimer, I started up a brand new settlement for the content of this video, so it's not the best settlement in the world just yet. All the information I'm about to reel off is definitely essential. Anyway, settlement status screen gives you a live snapshot of absolutely everything happening in your settlement, and it is crucial to the efficient management, and therefore there are a few key metrics to pay attention to on this screen. First up, I'm going to talk about happiness. This affects productivity and event frequency. Happy settlers are going to generate resources faster and give you fewer problems, so keep morale up by approving positive construction projects, resolving citizen disputes in fair or at least popular ways, and so on and so forth. Next, productivity. This stat tells you just how much your settlement is generating per hour, and it is directly affected by the buildings you approve and the overall efficiency of your citizens. Maintenance cost. Every building you add increases the upkeep cost, and if your costs start to outweigh the productivity, your settlement is obviously going to fall into debt, which reduces happiness and eventually halting construction, so you'll need to strike a balance here. So speaking of debt, yes, settlements can go into the red, but fortunately, you can bring them back into the black by denying unnecessary projects or approving ones that are going to boost your settlement's income. Population. Your citizen count grows over time, and as you build new stuff, high populations unlock larger and more complex projects, but they also bring more disputes and demand better infrastructure, obviously. And finally, sentinel alert levels. This basically indicates as a percentage based on your settlement activity how likely or not so likely it is that sentinels are going to attack your settlement. So obviously, the higher the percentage, the more likely they are to attack. But finally, keep an eye on any pending decisions. These can be time sensitive and they can change your settlement status quickly, so letting them pile up can lead to discontent or even unrest. And if you only check one thing each visit your settlement, make sure it is the status panel because it's your control center for keeping the whole operation running smoothly. Right, now that I've gone over pretty much all the major details on No Man's Sky settlements, let me rapid fire 3 essential tips and tricks that I think you should know to close this video out. So first up, approve festivals in your settlement, and the reason being they improve morale and productivity, leading to a much happier and thriving settlement and more money for you. Next, keep an eye out on the dispute queue again because resolving issues quickly helps prevent long-term settlement decline. And finally, number 3, the new autophage citizens can often come with high-tech advantages, making them great for research-based colonies. Well, there you have it, folks. There is an overview of absolutely everything you need to know about settlements, updated as of the latest beacon update in June 2025. Now, settlements offer a deep, passive gameplay layer that blends town management with space exploration. They're quite quirky, they can be unpredictable, and they're a great reason to come back to a number of planets regularly, especially now that you can be the overseer of 4. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you found it useful. And finally, if you are still here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You can also become a channel member as well. And as always, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in my final next one.